Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Deal with D and J. I'm your co-host, Jacob Pearl. Alongside me is the delightful DJ McCatherine. DJ, how we feeling on this fine day?
This is a pretty good Monday. We're a week away from today's Tuesday. Excuse me. But yeah, great weekend of football. Doing pretty good. Nothing too crazy going on. What about you, Jacob?
Nothing crazy. Got a nice little week off from basketball games. Both teams are on the road, so
Love that.
living lavish. Gonna enjoy what I can. But DJ, have you had a chance to listen to the new Zach Bryan album?
I have not. I'm not a huge Zach Bryan fan. Not huge. I like his music, but it is not something that I go seeking when he releases stuff. How is it?
It's pretty good. It's pretty
Yeah.
good. I think it's better than the last album that he put out. I think the production piece is a little bit more put together versus the last album. He tried to do a lot of the songs were really slow. I mean, there's some iconic songs on the last one, but this one, like Appetite, you have the horn section and the brass, which is really good, and then you have Dry Deserts in Santa Fe, but then you get it stripped down with Deanne's Denim, Aeroplane. I really enjoyed Rivers and Creeks, even though it's a goofy ass song. With Heaven on Top is a perfect song to end the album. I love how introspective it is. I think if you know Zach Bryan and his past, you can tell this is a completely different type of Zach this go around. He got sober. He's not nearly as angry. He's obviously married now, but I mean, he still made songs about chicken fry and obviously, you know, his issues with Gavin Adcock. And I mean, there's a lot of references, but even if you took maybe two songs that those are references to, the album is still really, really, really good.
There you go.
Uniquely different. The middle of the album's a little weak, sounds a bit the same, but overall, really, really solid.
I'll have to give it a listen. You'll have to give me a couple song rics. I'll definitely throw it in the mix. I don't shy away from new music. I'm just not a great music seeker, if you will.
Yeah, Appetite's probably my favorite song on the album because he's talking about when he played a song when he was playing in Arkansas, and he had like a crowd that just like did not care, weren't singing along, weren't doing anything, and he's just like, "Why am I in Northwest Arkansas? Who don't care?" So like, it's funny. I like that song. That's the one with the brass, and I really like brass. I'm a sucker for it. But
There you go.
DJ, let's dive right in here. NFL Super Wild Card Weekend. Right. Let's talk about Saturday's slate of games. I mean, first and foremost,
What cinema all weekend long?
cinema all weekend. Obviously, I mean, we'll touch upon the college football playoff here later. But I mean, let's start on Saturday's first game, which was the
Rams Panthers.
The Panthers were dead. I'm not going to lie to you. I didn't think they stood a chance in this game. They let Puka kind of have his way at the beginning. They let Matt Stafford have his way in the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
But give the Panthers a lot of credit. There's no such thing as moral victories, but if there is one, this was one for the Panthers. Like, if you're a Panthers fan being like, man, the end of the season was shaky, you'd went toe-to-toe with a potential eventual Super Bowl champion. Like, you went toe-to-toe with Stafford and Puka, that vaulted Rams defense. Overall, really good performance from the Panthers. But I don't know, that last drive, if you're a Panthers fan, was probably the worst 4 plays you've ever seen. Like, Bryce Young looked terrible. And then threw the ball away multiple times. You couldn't even move the ball. So lackluster, but overall, like, I was really impressed with the Panthers in this game. And the fact that the Rams can still march down with Matthew Stafford, and Stafford leads another game-winning drive and work inside the 2-minute drill. Nothing short of impressive, honestly, for this team.
No, for sure. I think the Panthers need to hang their head high. I mean, being in the playoff game just in general is a big moral victory. I mean, I think I would have taken, let's just say a tiebreaker didn't go in their favor. I still think this is a win for this Carolina team. I mean, when the expectation for you is to finish last in your division and you're in a three-way tie for first, I think you need to hang your head high. And then they were just blessed with the tiebreaker that allowed them to go to a playoff, and like you said, they competed. I don't think there's like much for Carolina and their fans to hang their head on. Like, obviously, you definitely need to see some improvement from Bryce Young. He did not look great all day. I think he only threw like 50% or completed 50% of his passes. The protection was good. He was only sacked twice, and they had a couple turnovers in this game. And LA was trying to give them the game. I mean, LA had a plethora of penalties, and the defense on both sides really didn't perform all that well. But it's tweaking now. I mean, if your defense has gotten you this far already, you just need to make a couple of offensive adjustments in order to turn completed passes or incomplete passes to completed passes. Maybe cover the ball a little bit more. Minor tweaks in this team for them to see a kind of a big payoff, I think.
Yeah, I mean, you look at both quarterbacks, right? Both roughly about 50% on the day. Stafford was 24 of 42. Bryce Young was 21 of 40. The difference in the game, I think, obviously, Carolina had one more turnover, but it really came down to like who was going to have the ball last. And ultimately, it was the Rams. I mean, technically, yeah, Carolina got the ball last, but they had 18 seconds. Like, you were gonna need a lot of magic. I think even though you had 3 timeouts, like you still needed some stuff to happen for you, in that game. But Carolina hang your head held high, and the Rams, whatever, dude. Long day. And then if you're the Rams, it's just another step towards the ultimate goal. All right, let's talk about Saturday night's game, which was the Bears and Packers. Unbelievable. Like, I thought the Bears were dead.
Yep.
Give a ton of credit to both teams. Neither team had a ton of success running the ball, but the both defenses couldn't do anything. I mean, Jordan Love, for gosh sakes, was 24, 46, and 323 and 4 touchdowns, no interceptions, right, with a 103 quarterback rating. And Caleb Williams, 24, 48, 361, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. If I just gave you the 2 quarterback stat lines, the Packers win this game. They had no turnovers, right? Actually, no, pardon me. They had 3 turnovers, right, from the receivers. But if I just gave you the quarterback stat lines, it sounds like Green Bay should have won this game. And by all intents and purposes, they should have. Is there something to be said without having Micah Parsons? Sure, having your elite edge rusher is a big deal. But there's something going on with Matt LaFleur that he just has a hard time adapting to the adjustments that other teams make. They had a great first half. I mean, they were up, what am I reading here? 21-3, right? Then it was 21-6. And then out of nowhere, the Bears put up 25 in the fourth quarter. And you have to take a hard look in the mirror if you're Matt LaFleur and figure out what am I doing wrong? Why can't we win these games? You're telling your fan base Jordan Love is the next Favre and the next Rodgers, and you surround them with these uber talented players, but the defense still can't find a way to get the job done, and then the offense, when you need them most, continues to falter. Flip side for the Bears here, I'll let you get a word in here after I finish my quick little monologue, but for the Bears, this is what you've been waiting for forever. When they bring in Caleb Williams and they bring in Ben Johnson and Ryan Poles, I always thought the right move was to keep Ryan Poles. And the guys they've drafted in Monungai and Burden and Odunze and Loveland having big impacts, but then their key guys that they've had for a while with Swift and DJ Moore making impacts. It just continues to be impressive. And the Bears defense still has a hard time stopping things, right? They still have a hard time stopping the run. They have a hard time with the pass, obviously, but they stepped up when they needed to, and the Packers also just had so many mistakes, man. Just you do little things, right? I think, McManus was kicking a field goal They get a false start prior to that or a delay a game. So then he moves back 5 yards, and guess what? He misses the field goal, right? That would have probably put you in front or at least help, maybe put a little bit more pressure on Chicago. But and here's the thing, too. The Ben Johnson, Matt LaFleur rivalry, love it. Absolutely love it. They don't like each other. And that's how Chicago and Green Bay should feel. But if you're Green Bay, you're looking at the season as a failure. It's another missed opportunity, and it's probably the biggest missed opportunity that you've had given the investments that you made to try and improve your team. Granted, injuries sway things, but still, I think if you're Green Bay, you gotta have a hard conversation and a hard introspective look as an organization.
Yeah, Green Bay is definitely struggling. I like Jordan Love. I really do. But there's got to be something different in the offensive scheme, right? Like it obviously works to some degree. I mean, Jordan Love threw for 4 touchdowns. It's not like this game wasn't close, right? But I don't know the last time that I've seen Green Bay be able to run the ball, right? And then you look out wide, Romeo Dobbs. Did I say that right? Romeo Dobbs. Matt Golden. I think they're good. I don't know. It's like the playmakers for Green Bay cease to exist. They get a bunch of, average to above average people to do a above average to good job at what they do. And it just feels like they're missing something on the offensive side that gives them a jolt to be excited about, right? It was supposed to be Christian Watson. Then it was supposed to be Matthew Golden, the first wide receiver, I believe, taken in the first round in like, what, 10, 12, 15 years, something like that.
For the Packers, yeah.
Yeah, for the Packers. And then, Jordan Love's, struggling, hitting just over 50% of his passes in this game as well. And then you have penalties for Green Bay that hurt them a lot in this game. And with Matt LaFleur, I mean, it comes down. Is Matt LaFleur? He's not calling plays, is he? Is he play calling? Yeah,
He's the
I think
offensive play caller.
I think you need to give it up. I think you need to hire an offensive coordinator or give somebody the ability to call some plays, give you some variety in there. There's nothing that excites me about this Green Bay team. And then on the flip side for the Bears, Caleb Williams, I mean, was kind of exactly what I said, but he did a lot better job at the end of this game. I mean, he is the person that lost them this game through 3 quarters, and he is the reason that they came back in the fourth quarter, which I really didn't think he had the willpower for.
It's
I didn't think if you would have told me, would 100 times out of 100 tell you that they would lose this ball game in the fourth at the start of the fourth quarter. And that throw he made on was it 4th and 8, off his front foot and just to heave into really wasn't even a heave. It was just a great throw into traffic, right on the money. Didn't put his receiver in any immediate danger either. It was a beautiful sight to see. And that's exciting, and that's the main difference that I see in these two teams. I mean, just looking at them on paper, like there are people that I know on Chicago. You mentioned Romo Dunze, DeAndre Swift, Luther Burden, those are dogs. Those were dogs coming out of college, and it's just they've got an explosive power to them that you don't see for Green Bay. And so, shout out to Ben Johnson, keeping Caleb Williams calm. I think this Chicago team doesn't. I don't think they have what it takes to win it all. But if I'm looking at the Bears in the coming seasons, I think that they've like doesn't matter what happens from now on. Like you have momentum for the next couple of years to believe in this team and to think that they can win this division again.
It was very USC Caleb Williams. He can lose you the game, but he can also bring you right back and give you euphoria. I think Ben Johnson just like took the headset and played Cyrus, the Michael Jordan Chicago Bulls starting lineup
Yeah.
in the headset, and the boys woke up. The Bears in the fourth quarter are legit, man. They've looked really good in the entire way. And yeah, if you're Bears fans, you're way ahead of schedule than what you thought was possible. Let's jump into Sunday, 1 o'clock. Bills, Jags, just continuing the cinema that we saw and ends in absolute heartbreak for the Jags, right? If you're the Bills, you're probably sitting there like they were the biggest team we're probably worried about. Maybe Denver is their next biggest test, right, for them as a team. But you look at it on the flip side, and man, if you're the Bills,
Can I
what a game.
interject?
Jump in.
This is especially to my Jacksonville people. Trevor Lawrence played his ass off. Played his ass off. I'm not going to sit here and say that I was wrong, right? He played a tremendous second half of the season, if not 3/4 of the season in this back half. He is putting the ball in the best position for his receivers to go up and get him. Even that last pass, I don't think it was the right choice, but that was a catchable ball, right? It was in the only spot that his receiver could get it. It just was the wrong choice. So Jacksonville, I kudos to you. It was oh my gosh, who's the new coach? Tampa Bay offensive coordinator.
Cohen.
Liam Cohen. Um, what a tremendous year one. 13-4. I mean, I do think they have one of the easiest schedules on the back half, but nonetheless,
I mean, they beat some big teams in the latter stretch, my friend. They
what
beat
was their last 5?
they beat the Broncos, they beat the Colts twice, Jets and Titans.
I mean, they didn't have Daniel Jones. The Jets are nobody. The Broncos could have tried because they were still fighting for first place at that point. And then Daniel
Chargers, they
Jones
beat the
list.
Chargers.
I mean, that's further. I'm talking like last 5 games.
Still,
Like Titans
you
before
play,
that,
you
Jags
play the
before.
team,
Like they
you can,
beat some good teams this year. I'm just saying the latter half.
listen. This is you know what my biggest pet peeve is? This is my biggest pet peeve right now. And you're starting to do it. This is when you start discrediting wins. If we're going to discredit teams, you got to discredit the Patriots. You got to discredit a bunch of other
Patriots
teams.
had the easiest schedule in football.
You play who's in front of you. The
Right.
Jags ripped off 9 straight wins to get into the playoffs.
They
Right?
did.
It's nothing short of impressive. And if you're going to sit, like, I was talking with some other people who were discrediting, like, Indiana in a group chat, but don't discredit the wins. Is it the best opponents? By no means. Right? Obviously, you can point at earlier in the
For the
year.
most part, all I'm saying.
Yeah,
I
but
didn't
like,
say, hey, the Jags played like dog water in these games.
but like the Jags looks like 1, 2, 3, 4 losses. One went to the Rams and the Seahawks.
Right.
One was
One
to
to
the
the Texans.
Bengals, and then the other one was to the Texans. 3 out of 4 of those teams are playoff teams.
Yeah.
They beat the Niners, they beat the Chiefs, they beat the Texans, they beat the Panthers, they beat the Chargers, right? Obviously, the last 5 games aren't great, but you went on the road and beat Denver. I think if you look at the Jag season, absolute smashing success.
Total win.
But
They won their division.
they did.
Yeah.
They won their division. But if I want to be a devil's advocate here. You look at it, and it's the draft picks didn't hit for Jacksonville, I think, the way they wanted to. Obviously, you make the move to get Travis Hunter. Obviously, he goes out with a knee injury for the year, but obviously prior to that, the Travis Hunter experience wasn't really living up to fruition, right? Bashaw Tutin, phenomenal in this game, and then Liam Cohen went away. I think if you look at this game, Liam Cohen kind of got in his own way. He got in his own way. He went away from the run game. Like, Tutin was moving the ball, and he was moving away from the run game. If you're looking at the Bills, you're taking a big exhale, being like, we escaped this game. We probably had no business winning it because the run game was terrible for them. They only had, I think, 70 yards running as a
James
team.
Cook could not find a hole if he was staring through it.
He couldn't find it. Josh Allen really was like kind of moving the ball, but the passing game for the Bills was really efficient. I'm not in love with obviously Khalil Shakir obviously took all the catches. But man, like if Surtain locks down your number one guy, the rest of the spray chart doesn't leave me a lot of like confidence in them. But again, because maybe you don't have a number one guy, maybe you can avoid it. I think if you look at it from a stats perspective, they only got 1 sack on each other. Trevor Lawrence, unfortunately, kind of reverted back to his old self from like the beginning of the year, forcing throws, interceptions, touchdown. But here's the thing, though. He had to go play hero ball. Like, when you're trying to go win the game, right, you're in the playoffs, you kind of got to take some risks. I don't hate the Trevor Lawrence performance. I had somebody tell me, like, Trevor Lawrence is mediocre. He's just, like, a better version of Ryan Tannehill, and I think that's massively disrespectful. I think this version of Trevor Lawrence that we saw from the last 9-10 games of the year, that's the Trevor Lawrence I was been waiting for. That's the Trevor Lawrence I've been expecting. He is incredibly accurate, incredibly precise with the ball, and he does not shy away and use his legs like he did at Clemson. This is the Trevor Lawrence we've been waiting for. I really like where the Jags are heading. Obviously, you have Jacoby Myers, right? Brian Thomas Jr. was kind of a shell of his old self. Parker Washington has kind of exploded onto the scene, and you get Travis Hunter back. And I think if you just use Travis Hunter in an offensive capacity, I think the world's their oyster on the offensive side of the ball, because Brenton Strange is also an incredible tight end. And for the Bills, the defense stepped up when it needed to. And I think if you're the Bills, you got some confidence, but you still got a little bit of a long way to go to try to achieve what you want. But ultimately, I thought this was a great game, absolute cinema until the end, and obviously heartbreak in Duval. And who knows if the Jags can replicate what they had this past year, because this year was very, very special.
Yeah, kudos to the Jags.
Jumping to the 4:00 game, the Eagles and the Niners. Saquon up the middle, deep ball to A.J. Brown. The offense for the Eagles is so bad that I think Eagles fans would be lying to themselves if they were, like, shocked by this result. Jalen Hurts was terrible. Like, 20 of 35, 168 against a banged up 49ers defense. Like, it's embarrassing of a performance. Saquon, 26 carries for 106 yards, but he had a big run of 30 at one point in the game. Like, A.J. Brown only had, he had 7 targets, only 3 catches for 25 yards. The defense for the Eagles did everything they could, man. They did everything they could. They kept the run game in check. Right, they kept McCaffrey to, I believe, barely over 100 total yards. Right, Purdy was 18 of 31 with 2 interceptions, and they had and they lost Kittle to an Achilles, and yet, and I said this on the TikTok. It was death by 1,000 paper cuts. Missed extra point. Right? Which comes to bite you later in the game, because instead of trying to go down and kick a field goal to tie it, you got to go and try and win the game. Right? Jake Elliott's got to figure it out. The offense wasn't great, and then you try to rely on your defense, and unfortunately, they got exposed at the wrong moments in the game. It was death by 1,000 paper cuts. And if you're an Eagles fan, this was an expected result, and if you're the Niners, you're like, how did we win? I think that's kind of the way you go it. And if you're the Eagles, you have a hard look at yourself. They already fired Kevin Patullo. Great move, because he sucked. But they got to do a little bit of retooling. Howie's got to get in the mix here. I think A.J. Brown's gone this offseason.
For sure.
And if you're the Niners, brutal beat to lose Kittle. Tongas is still really serviceable, but losing Kittle is a tough break for them. There's a chance Fred Warner can come back for that defense, which would be a difference maker for them. But Niners fans are looking at each other going, don't know how we won this game. And the Eagles are looking at everyone going, not surprised we lost.
Yeah, I like your breakdown. I don't really have any comments on it.
Sunday Night Football, talking about cinema. We get a snoozer. Absolute snooze fest of a game. Patriots, Chargers. Drake May didn't look great. Wasn't in love with what I saw, but he did eat 5 sacks in that game. Doesn't
Yep.
bode well for what's upcoming for them against the Texans.
No.
But Justin Herbert and the Chargers, absolute disgrace. Disgraceful performance by the offensive line there. Both teams look like crap. Defensively, I think the Patriots did a lot better job defensively. But granted, that's the worst offensive line you're going to see. Because I think Sunday Night Football, they did the PFF thing, and like 3 out of the 5 offensive linemen are either second to last or last in PFF grade. They were terrible. Justin Herbert couldn't survive. Christian Gonzalez, I think, left with an injury, but maybe was able to come back. I can't remember. But I'm looking at this. I'm looking at the wide receiver charts here. Both teams couldn't really throw the ball. Both teams couldn't really run the ball. It was just who had the better field goal kicker, and the Patriots scored a touchdown at the end of the game to kind of
Boost the score.
Put a dagger in it. And if you're the Chargers, they fired OC Roman today. If you're looking at the Chargers and Jim Harbaugh, like, you got to figure something out for Justin Herbert. Justin Herbert is now 0-3 in the playoffs. He literally is turning into Phillip Rivers. All the talent in the world, and can't get it done in the playoffs.
This Chargers team looks a lot like Green Bay does, right? They got pretty much a stud at quarterback, and they don't have a great they lost J.K. Dobbins, last year?
But Amari and Hampton was really, really good.
You're right.
They have the wide receivers, too. They have all the weapons. They have the talent on defense, too. It showed. They were in this game. If you're a Chargers fan, you're looking at yourself like, what more do we have to do to not suck every single time we step into the playoffs?
Right.
It's embarrassing. And Justin Herbert is the biggest, like, you want to talk about, like, hypotheticals. Like another hypothetical SEC win. People raving about Justin Herbert being like this top 5 quarterback. Where? Top 5 quarterbacks survive 6 sacks and a bad, like, they find ways. Justin Herbert couldn't find the way. Joe Burrow on the Bengals, he finds way to win games, and they're terrible. And he gets sacked. He gets sacked to oblivion.
I don't know that I love the avoid thing. I guess if you could show me all the sacks he actually avoided, that would be one thing. But I don't know that I like the top 5 quarterbacks avoid 6 sacks. Like, how many times did we watch Joe Burrow throughout his career get sacked 5, 6, 7 times in a game? Trevor Lawrence, and not that I'm calling him a top 5 quarterback, but sacked a ton. CJ Stroud, arguably last year, came into the season as a possible 5 to 7 quarterback, sacked to oblivion.
Yeah, I think
sacks happen.
but I just think if you're the Chargers, you're wasting this guy, and you got to figure it out.
Yeah.
Let's touch upon lastly, and then we'll talk about the divisional here.
Belt to ass.
Monday Night Football, the Texans and the Steelers. It was elder abuse in this game.
To be fair, this game was a little bit closer than the score indicates. It went real south real quick.
It went real south real quick. I mean, I think Aaron Rodgers threw a pick 6 at like the very end of the game, trying to make something happen. I believe there was a scoop and score touchdown.
Yep.
I believe. CJ Stroud, though, also bad. He had an interception. He had 5 fumbles. 2 of them lost. And
missed guys wide open.
Rattled. And the CJ Stroud hype, I think, is starting to fade away for me. I think he's a serviceable quarterback, but he looks he's looked bad the last 2 years. And if it wasn't for Houston having the best defense since the Legion of Boom, like, I don't know, like, if they win this game, they weren't, like, you were up 7-6.
Right.
And then if it wasn't for 23 points in the fourth quarter, like, you're looking at another snooze fest like Sunday Night Football. Rodgers and the offense did what they could. I mean, obviously we know today that they chose to move away from Mike Tomlin, even though he stepped down. I think he was forced to step down, so that's the way the Steelers were like, we didn't fire you.
Right.
But I think it's the right move for a Steelers organization that's been the same team for the last 5 to 7
25.
years since Rob. Yeah, but like with Roethlisberger was slinging the rock, right? Versus now it was mediocre. Run it like they found ways to win games, man. But like it's the same old Steelers every single year, and the Texans, man, that defense is very very.
I was aggressively impressed by the Texans defense. Like, I think I picked the Steelers to win just because I didn't think they could rely just on their defense. And though the mistakes for Pittsburgh and Aaron Rodgers and his age definitely played a factor in the outcome of some of these plays, like the fumble or the interception. It was a beatdown. And then for the CJ Stroud thing, I get it. You know, he, they definitely need to improve in multiple areas. I think one thing that's not going to be proven in this one, but just in general, is the run game showed up in this game, and that I feel like is not a normal thing for the Texans. Like they've had serviceable running backs in the past. I mean, Nick Chubb is getting better since his injury. Woody Marks, I feel like, hasn't really had his mark on this season as a whole. But maybe I'm just not watching enough Texans football. But
The run game has
offense,
been terrible. I think you can ask
right,
every Texans fan that they don't have one.
right. And so I think that's a lot to put on a quarterback's shoulders. Because even in the past, like I dog on the Jaguars, but they're like a perfect example of a quarterback who's good enough to do the good things right, but they also have a run game that's serviceable, or have the running backs to make your run game serviceable. And their offensive line has struggled in the past. And so this is no excuse for CJ Stroud missing wide open targets while running out of the pocket. I think he needs to do a better job at taking off running. As you can see or as the stat line shows, he had 1 carry, didn't gain any yards. But I think that's what helped Houston win this game today, was Houston's ability to run the ball. I mean, 19 carries, Woody Marks for 100 touchdown, and then Nick Chubb backing it up. I mean, 164 yards on the ground for the Texans, I think is incredible. And to do it on a Steelers defense that I kind of raved about, I think was also impressive. You just had an old washed Aaron Rodgers behind you, and the Steelers offensive line did their best Texans offensive line impression. So crazy work.
Let's talk the divisional here. Right, let's
Okay.
go in order. Let me pull it up here. We're going to go in order here of the divisional round. Let's talk 3:30 Saturday, Bills at the Broncos.
You are 3:30.
I am 3:30 Central Time, so 4:30 Eastern. Bills at the Broncos. If you're Josh Allen and you want to get to the Super Bowl, you got to be Hercules. You got to be Herculean. I think they have the ability to do it, but that Broncos defense is very good. Patrick Surtain is going to probably lock up your best wide receiver. And if they don't get the run game going for the Bills, I don't know where they go. But on the flip side, the Broncos have Bo Nix. You're either going to get top 5
Josh Allen, Bo Nix.
You're either going to get top 5 Bo Nix or bottom 5 Bo Nix, and there's no in between. If you get top 5 Bo Nix, there is nothing you can do to stop the Broncos. But if you get bottom 5 Bo Nix, you have a chance to win this game. To me, I think the Broncos has been easily one of the best teams the entire year. I think Bo Nix is really coming into his own towards the latter part of the year. I mean, granted, they didn't really play a lot of healthy competition. You want to talk about their last 5, right? They play the Raiders, the Packers, Jags, Chiefs, Chargers, right? Chiefs and Raiders, just embarrassing football teams at that point in the year. Chargers and Justin Herbert weren't anything, and a good win over the Packers, and then obviously you lost against the Jags. For me, it's hard for me to go against the Bills because I love Josh Allen a lot, man. I love Josh Allen. I think he's so good. But I think The Broncos are getting Greenlaw back. It's just, I think it's going to be too much for the Bills to overcome because they just don't have enough talent on the offensive side of the ball to overcome that defense. And I think the Broncos pass game gets going a little bit. And yeah, man, I'm taking the Broncos in this game for the simple fact of I think Josh Allen can do what he can, but I think it's just not going to be enough if it has to be the Josh Allen show against a defense like the Broncos. It can be the Josh Allen
Yeah,
show against the Jags. He can't survive that against the Broncos.
yeah. See, I like what Bo Nix has done this year, but there's something about this Buffalo team that they have a grind to them that's fantastic. And Gabe Davis going down with a season-ending injury again on that left knee that he hurt last year with the Jags, it puts a real big damper on it. I fully started this monologue with taking Denver, but the more that I think about it, I think this Buffalo defense takes a step up. The Denver run game without J.K. Dobbins it leaves me with a lot of question marks. I don't expect this to be a high scoring game in the slightest. Like I'm talking like 10. I think it could be a very snooze fest of a game. And if you're coming down to a dogfight, I think I'm picking the Bills. Josh Allen is what, 6'5, 250 pounds, 6'4, 250, something like that. And Bo Nix is no slouch either. But you give Josh Allen the ability to run the ball when you can QB sneak 10 yards, when you can hit receivers on a dime. I think there's just an element to the Buffalo game and Denver having to use Bo Nix too much is going to be the difference in this game. Like, I think I'm going to pick Buffalo in a 13-10, 14-10 type of ball game. I don't expect it to be great on either side. I'm expecting Josh Allen to make mistakes too. But I don't know that the offensive power of Denver outlasts Buffalo's offense. That makes sense? I just think Buffalo is going to end up finding something. They're going to get lucky. Cook's going to have a nice big run, and then again, if it comes down to a dogfight or a game winning drive, right? I'll trust Josh Allen. I do. So give me Buffalo. Big upset.
Let's jump into Saturday night. Seahawks and Niners running back a game that happened less than 2 weeks ago, or 2 weeks ago on the dot. I don't see a different result, if I'm being quite honest with you. The Seattle defense put Brock Purdy in a blender, and now he doesn't have George Kittle. Like, where do you go from here? The defense is banged up. I think Sam Darnold and that run game for Seattle is going to have a huge impact. I think the defense is going to step up, and guess what? The crowd in Seattle is going to be a massive factor. They haven't had a playoff game in God knows how long, right? Because the other times they've been wild cards. They've had to go on the road. Now they get a home game. Now they get this division game. I'm taking Seattle. 12th man's going to show up in a big way.
Man, stepping up.
Selfishly, I want Seattle to wear the gradient helmet, like the translucent helmet, translucent helmet that they wore like when they played them the first time, like on Thursday night. Oh no, against the Rams. If they break those out, it's game over. Don't even bother playing the game.
Yeah, the 49ers defense has an opportunity to gain a lot of people coming back. Winters, Gifford, Brown, Gross Matos. It's a fun last name, which I think could play a big factor if they do get him back. But I like Seattle's offense. I know based on a couple weeks ago, that's probably a bad bet, but it was enough to win. And the Seattle defense is pretty damn good too. So I expect this to be kind of another low scoring game. JSN is just magnificent, man. And the only person that I think can really replicate that is Christian McCaffrey. How much do they lean on McCaffrey in this game? The way they may have to lean on McCaffrey in this game kind of scares me. Not much further than the fact that he's aggressively injury prone. But Sam Darnold is on on a different level right now. He's performing real well. Count on him to tighten up his game. He really needs to watch turnovers. And I think if he throws some interceptions in this game, I think he could throw off Seattle's flow. But I think this is kind of a coin flip game to me. But this is another game that I see 14-10, 17-14 type of style coming down to the wire. But give me Seattle.
Thought I unmuted there. Sunday at 3 Eastern, 2 Central. Texans going to the Patriots. And here's the thing. When you look at it, you wanna trust Vrabel. I respect the Patriots defense, but the offense last couple weeks has not been looking great, even though, Drake May was playing at an MVP level earlier this year. But giving up 5 sacks against the Chargers doesn't bode well for what Will Campbell's probably going to face on that Texans defensive line. I don't see Drake May thriving in this environment. I think they're going to really struggle to get the run game going, which is going to ask a lot of Drake May passing-wise. Even though Drake May can use his legs a really good bit, I think this is going to be a low-scoring stinker of a game. I think we're looking 13-9, 13-6, 13-7. And I'm taking the Texans. I think the defense of the Texans is going to eat alive that the offensive line for the Patriots. And I think CJ Stroud just does enough. Maybe get a touchdown, put Fairbairn in some good positions to kick some 45-plus yarders. And I think the Patriots, even though they're going to have home field, I don't think it's going to be enough because I think the Texans' defensive line is going to mess them up. I think the secondary is going to mess them up. And I don't see the run game getting going. And if you take away the run game and part of your passing game, what more can Drake May really do besides running himself? I think the Texans are going to do enough to win, but it's going to be a stinker of a game, man. It's going to be bad, but I'll tune in. But I think the Texans defense is going to put them in a torture chamber.
I'll tune in is a hysterical line. So, based on the history here, it looks like the Texans struggle in dogfights, right? Losses in dogfights against the Rams, 14-9. The Bucks early in the season, 2019. The Jags, 17-10. The Seahawks, 27-19. Before they went on their, 10-game win streak, 11-game win streak to end the season. Something like that, which bodes the question, how well do you see the Patriots getting their run game going? Right? You don't see it at all getting started.
I mean, in the game against the Chargers, and granted the Chargers have a good defensive line, but by no means is it the Texans' defensive line. And they got 146 yards on the ground, but Drake May had 66 of it. Andre had 53, and Travion only had 27. And obviously one of the carries was Drake May for 37 yards.
Right.
They were pretty bottled up. And the pass game was barely going as well.
I see this game going one of two ways. I think if the Patriots dominate on the ground, they win this game. I see it being lopsided in either direction. I'm talking like 17-3, almost kind of like the Chargers game, the Chargers Patriots game. Kind of seeing it like that, maybe with a little bit more dominance and not a late scoring touchdown. But if the Patriots get the run game going, I can see them handedly, smushing CJ Stroud's pass game. Gillette Stadium is going to be absurd coming in for the second round. And then on the flip side, I don't if they misuse Travion Henderson or Ramondre Stevenson, I can see CJ Stroud having one of those games where he reminds you, there's a bounce back game, where he is just lights out. He makes good decisions. But the more I think about it, the more I feel like it's likely that the Patriots and Mike Vrabel get a run game going that's just going to work. If they pound and pound and pound the rock, especially with the talent that they have in the backfield, I think they could have the opportunity to pop out, and Drake May able to hit Stephon Diggs on a go, or get a slant to go their way, and with a secondary coming up. So again, this is one of those things where I was slamming the Texans, but I'm gonna doubt them again, and I'm gonna go the Patriots. Yeah, I'm just gonna say I'm not gonna give a score. I'm just gonna go Patriots.
Sunday Night Football, Bears, Rams. Rams going to Chicago. And where do you want it? Both defenses give up a ton of points. Both
Shootout,
quarterbacks
baby.
are electric, right? The run game for both teams is the focal point of the offense. They have great wide receivers. Davante Adams and Puka for the Rams. Obviously, the trio of Moore, Odunze, and Burden for the Bears. I'm gonna take a flyer here. I'm taking the Bears in this one. I think the Rams are gonna dance with too close to the flames on this one. I think they're gonna give Chicago some room to come back. I think Chicago in the fourth quarter at home, Caleb Williams finds a way to get the ball out, finds a way to march him down. When I'm looking at it, the Rams have had letdown spots before, and it typically comes in shootouts. And I think with the Bears, they love shootouts. They were right there on the doorstep against the Niners a couple weeks ago. I think, they had to come back against the Packers, and I just got a gut feeling that Chicago is going to come out on top in this one. I just got a gut feeling. Got a gut feeling about this one.
Well, keep your gut feeling. I'm going to go LA. I just don't think that Caleb Williams can do enough in this game. I think the Rams, though their defense does let up some points, I think they are good enough to hold you on both sides of the ball, so the run game and the passing game, enough to give Matt Stafford, Puka Nacua, Kyron Williams, and just that LA offense the ability to do kind of what they want when they want. I'm expecting this game to be, like I said, higher scoring, maybe like 28-21, 31-21. I think the Bears get their fair share of points, but I just don't think it's going to be enough to stop the Rams in this game.
Let's talk college football playoff. The national championship, I believe, is on Monday. This coming Monday, correct?
Correct.
Indiana, Miami, right?
What everybody predicted.
What everybody predicted back in August. What everybody thought would happen, right? It opens up.
Especially us.
You get a 1 versus a 10 seed, just the way the CFP wants it. I want to speak on people discrediting, right? I've talked to a lot of Miami fans in the last couple days. All they have done is discredit the Big Ten. That's all they've done. Indiana's played nobody. Indiana's played weak-ass teams. Like, Indiana, they haven't faced a team like Miami before. They haven't done this and they haven't done that. Right? They didn't look good against Ohio State. We smoked Ohio State. We did this, we did that. And I kind of sit there and I'm like, and they're like, we heard every single time that Marcel Reed's going to be the best quarterback we played. Then it was, Julian Sand. Then it was Trinidad Chambliss. Now people are saying
all those things can be true.
All those things were true. At the time of the game, they were the best quarterback you were facing at that time. And the thing I want to say to Miami fans is that you have every right to be ecstatic. You have every right to be this joyful. You have every right to talk your shit. But guess what? But the delusion that you live under isn't great. If you're going to come in here and thinking that it's going to be belt to ass and you win by 3, that's not belt to ass. Okay? We got to chill with that. Can't say it's belt to ass when you win by 3. When I look at this game, I look at the quarterbacks, of course. That's where I normally start. When you've watched these two quarterbacks, maybe in the last 4 to 5 weeks, Mendoza has been nothing but precision. He does not make mistakes. He is incredible with the football. He is smart in the pocket. He gets rid of the ball. He does not take bad sacks. And even he does, they're not afraid by it. They're not scared of it. And the thing is, when you look at this game and you looked at the last, 2 games for Indiana, and I was talking to a Miami fan, they're like, we've beaten 2 SEC teams on the way to the playoff. Okay. Indiana smoked Alabama. Embarrassed them. Then they get Oregon, who took care of a really good Texas Tech defense. Indiana smoked them. Miami barely scraped by Ole Miss, and Ole Miss defense isn't all that great. Now you're going to go up against a great defense in Indiana. But Jacob, you said the Ohio State defense is the best you ever seen. Talent-wise, yeah. They're going to have 5 first
rounders. They skated by Ohio State, too. Don't
get
it twisted.
You're going to have 5 first rounders on that Ohio State defense. The statement is still true. It was one of the, but when you look at the totality of Indiana, Curt Cignetti is the first guy since Saban retired who looks like Nick Saban. Reminds you of Nick Saban. The mentality of Saban. He was a Saban guy. So was Cristobal. But Cignetti gets the best out of his guys. So offensive line is like watching Picasso paint in the run game. Oregon's defensive line is really good. And people discrediting that are not watching Oregon football. Unbelievable runs. To people saying, well, Indiana can't stop the run, that's fine. Indiana only gave up 93 yards. Indiana had 185 on the ground. Indiana had 177 passing. Dante Moore had 285, but guess what? By that time, the score is way out of hand. You can kind of let your foot off the gas. I think when you look at it, Mendoza is playing the best football of his life. I think the wide receivers for Indiana are better than you give them credit for. They are so old that age matters at this point. It is an unbelievable feat. On the Miami side, right? Carson Beck is playing the best football of his entire life. People want to talk about 2-time national champion behind Stetson Bennett, right? This is the first time he's been in this position before. He is crushing it. I think this is arguably the most talented team he's ever played on. But if there's one thing Indiana's going to do really well, it is going to stop the run or limit the bleeding. Remember, if you get stopped in the backfield for a half second, there are 3 Indiana guys ready to blow your head off. I think Carson Beck can be a little sloppy with the football. If there's one thing Indiana does, is that they force you to make a mistake and they don't make them themselves. Malachi Toney, I think, is going to be a big part of this game, but I think Cignetti will find a way to shut him down. I think Ruben Bain and the defensive line for Miami will be somewhat of a factor, but I trust Cignetti and Mendoza to figure it out. When you watch Indiana, they have looked the part of a number 1 team all season. And if we're going to get an absolute classic of a game, I'm all for it as a fan, but I am leaning towards Indiana. Do not discredit Indiana being like, well, they played Ohio State and barely beat them. They won, and that game was closer than it really should have been. Right? That was kind of like, again, Ohio State's defense playing the part. Julian Sayin got his internal clock sped up against Miami. You executed the game plan the way you wanted to when you played Ohio State. So did Indiana. Indiana struggled against Penn State and Penn State's buns. May I remind you, Miami fans, you lost to Louisville, who struggled against Toledo, and you lost to SMU. Relax. You have your right to be excited and talk your stuff, but don't get it twisted. This is going to be a great game, but I think Indiana comes out on top. And I just don't think Miami or football fans can wrestle with the idea that Indiana is going to be a national champion in football.
Very well said. I mean, I really can't add too much on top of that, as much as I would love to. But like you said, Miami's playing their best football right now. And that's kind of what this whole playoff format is supposed to do. It's supposed to decide who's playing their best football right now, who can put in a stretch of games to win the national title. Just because you're not the second seed does not mean that you can't win the title or that you're not better than what you say you are, or worse than what people rank you as. And so Miami's done a really good job at executing, right? They out executed Ohio State, they out executed Miami, they out executed Ole Miss. And you could arguably say that their game against Ole Miss was probably their worst one, given that they dropped multiple interceptions on that defense. But their offense carried them in that game, right? Like I'm not going to sit here. I mean, could discredit me for being an Ohio State fan or whatever, but I didn't think that they looked all that fantastic against Ohio State, right? Ohio State let them score on the last possession. That's a 3-point game if they don't try to let you score, right?
You take away a pick six, it's a
Well,
3-point
yeah,
ball
you take
game.
away a pick six, you let them just run the clock out instead of letting them score.
But
That's a 3-point ball game.
But
This is
Carson Beck only threw for 138 yards.
He
In the
didn't do
run
much.
and the
And the
run
run
game,
game is what killed Ohio State. Ohio State couldn't stop the run. They were too worried about probably Malachi Toney. And that's going to be what Kurt Cignetta's balance is how much are you willing to give up on the ground or how much are you willing to give up in the air in order to stop Fletcher or Toney? And is there a format that you can do both? Indiana has destroyed all evidence that they shouldn't be here. All of it is gone. They are first record breakers. Got the potential to be the first 16-0 national title or national champion, excuse me. First time Heisman Trophy winner, first time Rose Bowl champion, first time Peach Bowl champion, right? And they dominated. They're the first team in here with a bye to win their game as well. They're the only team in this 2-year format that's done it. And we've seen some really good teams with byes coming in here. And they found a way around it. Oh, now you play Alabama, the SEC team, destroyed. In Oregon, like you said, very good defensive line, an electric offense. They couldn't get anything going. And I think it's going to come down to Carson Beck. Carson Beck is going to win this game for Miami, or he is going to throw it away. The defense for Indiana, just this team in general, right? I've made a point of emphasis on this Indiana team does not break. They do not bite, right? They don't have unnecessary penalties. They barely have penalties at all. They're one of the most disciplined teams that I have ever watched. And like you've said it best, this looks like, even your early 2000s Alabama teams, 2010s, excuse me, and that all has to do with the experience of your team. I think they are older in average age than the Philadelphia Eagles. So Kurt Cignetti has found a way to, use the transfer portal to help, but he's also got his team so disciplined that I really can't fathom a way. Like I'm trying to think of a way that Miami slips through, right? But I just can't find it. The run game is so solid. The offensive line for Indiana is protective in the pass game, and they're great on the ground. The defensive line for Indiana is so solid. They're top 2 in offense and defense this year. And you max that up with just the coaching that they've had. And again, I emphasize the discipline is there is going to be an uncomfortable conversation if they dominate, especially if they dominate this game. But you have to consider them as being one of the best teams you've ever watched. Maybe not in namesake, right? In outright performance, or stats, excuse me. But the way that they've won games this year is incredible. And I don't think people are willing to have that conversation about how good this team actually is in comparison to the great teams that we've seen, especially in the last 20 years. Give me Indiana by 10 at least.
Yeah, and I think for those saying like, well, we're playing them, well, they're coming to our house. Miami fans, like, you guys barely
They don't
show
know
up
about
for your
that Hoosier money, that Bloomington money.
I don't know if y'all saw the Peach Bowl, but that thing was red.
Mm-hmm.
Expect Hard Rock to be red. Indiana, I think, finds a way to win this game. I think Miami's going to get theirs because I think the offense is that good. But I think I agree with you. I
don't even know where they get it. Where do they get it, Jacob? That's the biggest question I have is where.
I pulled up the Alabama stat line. Ty Simpson and Austin Mack combined for 170 total yards passing. They held Alabama to 23 rushing yards in that game. Indiana rushed for 215 in that game. Pulling up the Oregon stat line here. Oregon rushed for 93, but one of those runs came off a 70-yard run. 71 yards. You take that 1 yard, you take that out. Indiana held Oregon to less than 20 yards rushing. Indiana had 185 yards on the ground against Oregon. And this is a very impressive Oregon team. Right? If you look at the Miami box score, they gave up 121-yard miss, right? But they had 191 on the ground in that game. And again, the Ole Miss defense wasn't that great. We kind of knew that all year, right? So that's kind of like an unfair comparison, but Miami has the ability to stop the run. But then they played Ohio State. Again, they held Ohio State to about 80 yards rushing. The game's going to be won in the trenches. The problem is Indiana has one of the best offensive lines I've ever seen in my life. So, and their defensive line can stop the run. I think people are discrediting Indiana for that. But if you can't stop Indiana's run game, which no one seems to have done, I wish a lot of people some luck.
Yeah. Got a score prediction?
No, I'm just going Indiana wins, man. Can't give a score prediction.
Lame.
Can't do it, unfortunately. Against the rules.
What?
Against the rules.
Rules?
Can be perceived as gambling, my friend. Trying to move lines. Just covering my base. Let
me talk to the Big 12.
Talk to the NCAA, my friend. That's an NCAA rule. Let's cap off the end of this episode here with kind of a surprising NBA trade. Let's talk some ball here, a little NBA basketball.
I was there. I had his intro. I was there.
Tre Young to the Wizards. I think one of the more head-scratching moves that I've seen in the NBA in a long time. Good for Tre to get out of Atlanta. Mm-hmm. But I thought you wanted to get out of Atlanta to go win an NBA championship. And you chose to go to Washington. Hasn't done anything since Gilbert Arenas. I don't think I understand the move. The price point for what you gave up for Tre Young is okay. Like I'm not going to lose sleep over it, I don't think. Gave up CJ McCollum and somebody else for Tre Young. But yeah, I just don't get the move. Maybe you got some basketball insight for me, but I don't get the move. I thought Tre Young wanted to go to a contender, and he chose to go to a rebuild. And I don't know. And he was like, yeah, this is one of the teams I wanted to go to. I just don't think doesn't make a lot of sense, if I'm being quite honest with you.
So I don't know the name exactly, but there is somebody who drafted him to Atlanta.
Yeah, he's in the Wizards front office now, right?
Yes, and I know that he was very excited to get Tre Young and have that conversation. And like I said, I was there when he was introduced to the media, and he talked a lot about being able to mentor young guys and wanting that leadership type of role. And though I don't necessarily understand what he was lacking in Atlanta, but I think he just wasn't happy there. And he still kind of wanted that role. He reviewed kind of the team and kind of where they're restructuring. Like they're doing a lot of construction in the actual Capital One Arena to just draw more attention to the city. And now you're in a city where, like DC, where you're kind of the biggest name since John Wall was there, right? Bradley Beal. You said Gilbert Arenas, and that's even further, but I can't name anybody really in between those two, nor after John Wall. Kyle Kuzma? Doubt it.
Kristaps Porzingis for a small bit?
Yeah, but this allows him to go to a team where, again, he is the veteran. He's the vet. He's still got a lot of basketball to play left. And he just kind of seemed happier. It seemed like a scenario that he was happy for. I don't think that the team gave up too much. The Wizards were very grateful for what I don't know the other guy named in this trade, but they were very grateful for CJ and the other guy that was traded. But I think it also offers them the ability to go after other talent, right? Tre Young may not even see the floor this year, right, as he's recovering from an injury. But it'll become more obvious here in the offseason if there is a structuring development within the Wizards organization if they go out and they get talent to help. They're very excited for like the pick and roll, pick and pop with their center, who his name is slipping me, but they're excited about the talent that they have now. The Wizards are, and like I said, Tre Young wanted a veteran role, is at least what he said, and he looks happy to be there. He really, really kind of liked the DC area, so and the city. So something might be going on at that Hawks organization. Who knows?
Yep. Other than that, DJ, any other major sports news that we missed? I think we covered it all.
I mean, the head coaching openings for the NFL, I mean,
Yeah,
that's
we
kind of still
covered
hot
it.
on the trail, but Mike Tomlin,
Yeah, Mike Tomlin's gone. Not
is
really
that the most
surprised.
desired job, you think, right now? You think
No,
that's bigger than Baltimore?
I don't know. It depends on how you look at it, right? If you go to Pittsburgh, you can kind of draft a quarterback. Problem is, though, you're in the 20s. You're not in a prime position to go get like Mendoza or Dante Moore. Like, are you going to have to settle for Ty Simpson, Trinidad Chambliss? I don't know what that looks like, obviously, for them. I think if you look at it from a totality standpoint, to me, in terms of the openings, I mean, Baltimore is probably number one, right? Because you get Lamar Jackson, right? I think what? How many jobs opening do we have? We have what, nine openings, give or take.
Something
I
like
got.
that. Three out of the four AFC
I'm trying to
North
pull up all the
teams.
teams because Dolphins have an opening, the Giants have an opening,
Titans.
Ravens, Browns, Steelers all have an opening. The fact that Zach Taylor has a job, Bengals fans, you have every right to be pissed. Every right.
Especially with all the openings that are out right now.
Yeah, Titans have an opening. Atlanta has an opening. Arizona has an opening, and the Raiders do. I mean, if I was to rank them, it'd probably go Baltimore, Atlanta, New York, Pittsburgh, Miami, Arizona, Tennessee, Raiders. The reason why I'd put Atlanta second, Bijan, Kyle Pitts,
I guess
Blake
situationally,
London.
and if you're going with they're
You
going
get
with a new GM too, right? You get a GM offering there.
you get a GM. I like the Giants team as third because you get Jackson Dart, Cam Scattaboo, right? Malik Neighbors is still in the fold. You can add another guy to the mix to really give Jackson Dart another weapon. I think the Jackson Dart experiment is still really good. I think he's the guy there. I think he did great. The problem is you had a terrible defense. I forgot Cleveland. I think Cleveland towards the bottom part as well. You have no quarterback, and the GM who is staying is going to continue to screw you guys. Andrew Berry, while he does hit on some dudes, you still got two rookie quarterbacks on the roster and you don't have a starter. Are you going to draft another quarterback in this class? No. So you're stuck with Shador and Gabriel again, unless you want to go get a guy in free agency or you trade for Kirk Cousins. Pittsburgh, I think, is in a good camp to, again, trade for a guy like Kirk Cousins. Malik Willis is out there as well. Like, if you want to go get Malik Willis, like, get some of these high-end backups. Like, I'm not opposed to some of these moves, but I think Baltimore with Lamar Jackson is probably the number one spot. And Atlanta's too, just simply because you have all the talent in the world there. Atlanta is very much like Chicago was last year. If you just bring in a competent coach, like a Ben Johnson guy, look what it did for Chicago. That's what Atlanta needs. And I think the Raiders is the worst job in football. That team is so bad. So bad. Terrible. They're terrible. Arizona's terrible. Tennessee's kind of is just as bad, but Cam Ward's actually like kind of good. So, yeah.
There you go.
Well, DJ, another fine episode in the books. Another fine episode. Excellent podcast, good sir. He has been the delightful DJ McCaffrey. I have been your co-host, Jacob Pearl. Like, comment, share, subscribe on all platforms. We have been to deal with D and J.